I've got something for you today, and this is God's honest truth, Scout's honor, 100% state law. You guys are going to know this is true. As bass anglers, most of the time, when we go out and buy baits, they're replacement baits. We're replacing a pack of old Cincos, maybe it's an old crankbait, maybe it's a chewed up plastic, but we're replacing baits that we know, we love, we fish, we catch fish on them. We've probably fished these baits for years, we're just replacing them. You know that's true. You also know it's true that very seldom when we go out and buy a new bait, right off the bat, it starts to work and that bait becomes part of your arsenal, your daily arsenal. Well, that happened to me just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm here to tell you about that bait. I'm going to tell you all about it. So for those of you who especially love topwater bass fishing, you're going to want to stick around and listen to this. I think you're going to like this video. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Nories Tough Bug. It's a topwater bait that I've been fishing for about 3 weeks now. It's not a new bait. I think it's been on the market for a couple years, but it's new to me, and I know it's not a real popular bait. For those of you who are not familiar with the channel, I just want to let you know that I don't do a whole lot of bait reviews, and it's not because I don't buy a lot of baits. Over the past, I'll say 50 years, I've probably bought thousands of baits, and very few of those baits stay in my arsenal. I can tell you this, that this Nories Tough Bug, which I've been using for about 3 weeks now, and I've already gained enough confidence in it to know that it will be in my arsenal. So I feel real comfortable not only doing a bait review on this, but suggesting that you go out and get one and give one a try. I think you'll be happy with them. Also, with that being said, I'm not sponsored by these guys. I did not get any promotion from Nories. They didn't send me one of these because I'm a YouTube guy and they wanted me to review it. This is a bait that I kind of had some questions on it when I saw it on Tackle Warehouse. I'd been looking at it for a while. It comes from Japan, so a lot of the information and the videos on it are all in Japanese. You can't get the feel of the bait basically unless you buy one. So I ended up buying one, and I liked it. I started catching fish with it, and I was separated from the bait about 3 days after I purchased my first one, and I was separated from that bait the way a guy should be separated from a bait. A big fish took it from me and I broke it off. Obviously, I went out and bought some more, and what's happened in the last 3 weeks we'll tell you about, and we'll compare this bait to two of my favorite topwater baits, a Rico and a River to Sea Bubble Walker. And it's kind of in that genre of bait. I don't want to call this bait a popping bait because it can be a popping bait. I'll call it more of a gurgle bait. I don't know what I'd call it, but we'll get into it. We'll compare it with the we'll compare this with the Rico. We got a Rico here, we got a Bubble Walker here, pretty similar, and here we have the Nories Tough Bug. And it might look exactly like these other baits, but there are some subtle differences, and they really translate into this bait being able to catch fish when both of these baits are struggling. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, they're not for beginners. They take some finesse when it comes to working these baits, and it takes the right rod with the right setup. We'll give you all that information, but it's a bait that you have to get out on the water, become familiar with, and learn how to use it. It's the Nories Tough Bug 80. They make it in two sizes, an 80 and a 65. I suggest, especially if you're out here on the Delta, you get the bigger one. It's the 80. It's 3.1 inches long, 5/8 of an ounce. It's a little, just slightly bigger than a bubble walker and slightly heavier than a bubble walker. And obviously it's a little bigger and a little heavier than a Rico. Comes in 5 colors. The bait's about $22. The pros of this bait are that it is very compact, so it casts really well and it lands softly on the water. The gentleman, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, that designs baits for Nories, fishes mostly in Japan. He fishes very pressured waters, and one of the things that most of these Japanese baits try and do is be able to produce fish in heavily pressured waters under tough conditions. So, and I think this bait really fills that void. So they cast like a bullet. They land softly on the water. They're really nice to cast in the wind because they're so compact. You can cast them right into the wind. They cut through the wind, and they're also very accurate. That little extra weight on it allows you to either pitch the bait, sidearm cast it, or if you're an overhead guy or a spinning rod guy, you can cast it overhead, and you can really get that bait out there. Distance and accuracy are both great. Has a very subtle sidewalk back and forth. It can pop, it can gurgle, and it stays in place. So when you are in those situations where you're throwing it into maybe a bathtub size area, and that you want that bait to land softly, and as you touch it and gurgle it and pop it, you don't want it to move out of that strike zone. This bait stays right where you want it, and you can twitch it very softly, and it's only going to move about that far. And hopefully I'll get some on the water footage of this bait and how it works. So it's a very subtle bait. It can be popped, twitched, and you can control the animation on this bait. It can also dive down to maybe about, I'll say 6 to 8 inches, maybe a foot deep, and it almost fishes like a fluke in certain situations. And that has been so important to me the last couple of weeks, because when those fish, we're fishing the California Delta out here, it's post-spawn, and a lot of the big females that are coming up are not really interested in eating just yet. They're getting there, they're looking at baits, they're coming up, they're swirling on them, but they're really not eating them. Well, what I found with this Nories bait is it's popping, and I could see a fish behind it. I could see, a wave behind it. If I give it the right pop, I can get that thing to dive underwater. And what I found a couple of times is that as this thing comes underwater, it doesn't come back up, because the fish that won't take it on the top as it's popping across the surface, as you pop it a little harder and it dives down under and you twitch it and it gives that side-to-side erratic action, that's when the fish take it. Then all you see is a big swirl underneath it. I had one this morning that did that, and I hope I got it on camera. But I didn't catch that fish, but that's the situation. When all is said and done, this bait catches fish. Let's get into it. Let's compare it with the bubble walker and the Rico. And the first thing I'll say, you guys that watch the channel know one of the things I do with the bubble walker. Here's a standard bubble walker, and hopefully I'll put it right here. You can hear that. It's got the rattles pulled out of it because I want it to be silent. Here's a bubble walker that I pull the rattles out of, and that's it. It's got one rattle left. It's in the back of in the butt of this thing. So you can hear this compared to this. I catch a lot more fish on this silent bubble walker than I do the one with the coming out of the factory with the rattles on it. If I've got a lot of little chop and some wind disturbance, I still fish this quite a bit, but in shallow water, in flat water, I go with the silent bubble walker. Now here is the Nories bait, and listen to this. Well, that's the hook rattling there. There's no rattle in it at all. It's perfectly silent. That's the first difference you're going to see on this. You'll also see that the cup on the front, here's the Nories bait, here's the bubble walker. You can see they're a little smaller. A little bit smaller here, and although the bait is heavier, let me get the hooks out of my fingers. You can see it's not as deep as a bubble walker, and it is just a little more compact. So that's what makes it, the castability on this Nories a little better than the Bubble Walker. What else was I going to say on this guy? Oh, you'll also notice, look at the tail in this compared to the Bubble Walker. You can see it side by side. There's a little bit of an upswing in this tail, and this is what gives this thing a little bit more of a walking motion, side to side erratic motion. Here's the bait compared to a Rico, and again, little bit smaller cup on the nose. The bait is just slightly bigger, but it's heavier, and it feels heavier in your hand. It really does. I mean, I've weighed both of these, and they're just a matter of grams in between the weights on these. So what does this bait do? First of all, you can throw it out, and it excels when you have early morning, late evening, just flat, calm glass water. Maybe you're fishing 1 to 3 feet. Out here on the Delta, we've got a lot of that kind of water where there's a lot of vegetation, so on and so forth. You throw this thing out, it lands very softly, so it doesn't spook fish. It can be fished very slow. This is the Rico. When you pop the Rico, boy, you can get a pop out of it. Same thing with the Bubble Walker. The Rico is more of a popper, popping bug, chug, chug, chug. It can be fished very softly and very subtly. The Bubble Walker has a little more side-to-side action, and it has that good chugging action. What the Tough Bug does is you can just twitch it very lightly and it gurgles. The water just seems to come over the top of the head, and it just kind of plop, almost like a frog. If you twitch it a little harder, it will go from side to side. If you give it 2 or 3 twitches, the way that this thing is weighted, the head will come down and will dive down about 6 or 8 inches underneath the surface, and you could twitch it again, and underneath it, the only thing that I could relate this bait to when it's under the water and you're twitching it, it looks almost like what a fluke looks like underwater. It kind of twitches very erratically, and you guys know how effective the fluke can be fished when it's like that, just maybe a foot under the surface, unweighted with just a nose hook on it. That kind of reminds me what this Nories bug does, but it twitches like a wounded minnow, and you could just see that thing twitching around. I've had numerous fish that wouldn't hit it on top, but as it goes down underneath, it's just like a fluke. I see it out there, and I could see this thing kind of flashing, twitch it, and something will come up that's not a topwater fish. The fish that comes up and hits this under the water, or that I've had, have been fish that are in, I'll just say vegetation in, I'll say 2 to 4 feet of water, and I've seen them come right out of vegetation, come up and grab this thing. It's a fun bite. It's not a topwater bite, but it's a fun bite, and it's a bonus fish that you catch on these things. I wouldn't suggest throwing this on like a 7.3 or a 7.5 foot rod, because you're not really trying for that distance. You're going to throw it on a 7-foot rod, medium action, something that you would basically throw a jerk bait on. If the bait is not working for you, go to a lighter, softer rod. I'm fishing it with 30-pound braid, and I have about 4 to 5 feet of 10-pound maximum leader on it. So that's working fine for me. I also fish it on a Shimano Corrado 7'2" medium action spinning rod. I also have 30-pound braid with that, same type of leader setup. I can tell you this, when you're working that thing back to the boat and you see a swirl or something and your bait disappears, whether you feel a bite or not, a lot of times that fish will have the bait in its mouth and it's swimming off. So what you have to do is just reel slowly, catch up to the bait. You'll feel your rod pulse a little bit, and then you set the hook. So with that, guys, go out and give one of these a try. It's the Nories Tough Bug 80. You can buy them at Tackle Warehouse. They are from Japan, so I don't know how readily available they are outside of Tackle Warehouse, but for most of you guys in the United States, you know how to get a hold of Tackle Warehouse. I'm going to continue fishing these things, and I guarantee if you watch the channel, you're going to see me catch a lot of fish on these tough bugs. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll get out here and try to catch a couple more fish on these things and get some film for you. Good luck.